The Elite Defense Assault Robot, or EDR, or E.D.A.R. The weaponized version of E.D.A.R, technology that was possibly stolen by the Patriarch from Horzine. Machines that were once meant to stop the outbreaks, now aiding the outbreaks. Hello, my name is CabooseDOTexe, and today we're going to be talking about the E.D.A.R. First, I'm going to talk about the lore, and if you want to just jump straight into the stats, just go to the timestamp on screen. It'll also be located in the description below. I apologize if you hear an echo or something. I'm actually still not home. I'm on vacation. Now, as I said before, the E.D.A.R were designed to prevent the Zed outbreaks from happening, but for some reason, they decided to support the Zeds instead of stop them. This could be due to the Patriarch stealing some technology from Horzine like he has in the past. If this is the case, he'd be stealing from Horzine's E.D.A.R project started by Jeffrey Tam, a character introduced in the Urban Nightmare character pack from Killing Floor 1. Dr. Tam started this project while the Patriarch was still an average man in charge of the company under the name Kevin Cleanley. This means that the Patriarch would be entirely aware of this project's existence and be able to repurpose E.D.A.R units and assemble them into E.D.A.R units, just so that way he can support his Zeds, something that he considers his children. That's just some serious child support. Now that we got the lore out of the way, let's move on to the stats. This chart right here tells you how much DOSH, XP, and health the head and body have. Based off the amount of XP you get when you kill it and the amount of health the head and body have, you can see it's kind of a medium enemy. The E.D.A.R are also somewhat capable of keeping up with the players as they have a decent mobility. Something important to note is that their head is not a weak spot. However, the railgun disagrees with me on this one. Decapitating an E.D.A.R unit does not actually prevent them from using their special attacks or cause them to lose health over time. However, they will take extra damage still. Something you should take note of is that they have armor protecting their head and torso. Because of this, explosive weapons aren't as effective against them. Now, the armor around their torso actually covers their core, which is in fact their weak spot. It's this glowing red battery that pretty much shouts, "Shoot me." Now, when it comes to what kind of damage you should use against them, they are exceptionally weak to the microwave damage type. It has a massive 3.25 times multiplier applied to microwave weapons. This makes the microwave gun the best weapon to use against the E.D.A.R. And the next best damage type is fire, which, believe it or not, has a multiplier of 1.5 on it. I'm assuming this picture's a little old. This makes Firebug the absolute best perk to use on the E.D.A.R. I'm guessing that's because they're robots and they overheat easily? I don't know. The next best perk to use is actually Berserker, believe it or not, because it has a 1.25 times multiplier for bludgeoning and cutting weapons. As for the other damage types, everything is average, with the exception of Piercing and Toxic. Piercing damage is a reduction of 15% damage, and Toxic has a damage reduced by half. It doesn't really matter though, because currently there aren't many weapons that use toxic damage. The main ones are the medic grenades, which are meant to heal players more than the enemies, and the medic guns, syringes, which are used also to heal players instead of attack enemies. Now, if you're curious about incapacitating them, you can't really stun them or make them panic for being on fire, but you can microwave them, and since they're robots, you can use EMP on them. The weakness to EMP makes Berserker even more of a viable option, thanks to their EMP grenades and the static strikers. Just don't try poisoning or making them bleed, that won't really work. Now, there are three kinds of E.D.A.Rs. There's the Bomber, which is also known as the Boomer. This one has shoulder-mounted rocket launchers. And when it attacks, it hovers in the air, kind of like the Revenant from Doom 2016, which is one of my favorite games. So good on that reference, Stripwire. Each rocket does about 10 damage across a 300 radius, so it's not too bad, and the animation itself lasts for about 4.5 seconds, so they're kind of open while they're doing it. Next up is the Blaster E.D.A.R. This enemy uses wrist-mounted laser blasters. They tend to fire about 13 beams over the course of 4 seconds, which means they get more shots off than the rocket launcher one. Luckily, each shot only does about 7 damage. The beams are also classified as a ballistic. Lastly, there's the Trapper E.D.A.R. This E.D.A.R will use a tether to hold the player in place for about 2.5 seconds and deal 10 damage to them. Of course, this tether can be broken before the 2.5 seconds is up by simply damaging them. Believe it or not, this is my least favorite E.D.A.R to fight because they'll just hold you in place, force you to look at them, and let a flesh pound beat you from another side of you. The last thing about their damage is their melee. They all do about 10 melee damage, and they have a 3 times multiplier for doors apparently, which makes them exceptional at breaching. This here is your basic attack intervals. It changes based on whatever difficulty you're playing on. The last piece of information I want to provide about the E.D.A.R is how they spawn. It's a little strange. How the E.D.A.R spawns work is that any Husker Stalker has a chance to spawn as any one of the E.D.A.R variants. The odds of an E.D.A.R spawning instead of a Husker or Stalker is increased as the difficulty increases. And with that, we've covered basically everything you need to know about the E.D.A.R enemy. I would like to do a video on every enemy and even the bosses in Killing Floor 2, so let me know in the comments which one you want to see up next. As for just a little general thing about this channel, I'm going to be going to PAX West this year. So if you're going to be there, hit me up. Let me know. I'd like to meet up with some people who like to watch me. My buddy, my dude, bro, guy Chronic will also be there with me. So look out for us. And with that, I've been CabooseDOTexe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.